Hey everybody, Eric Wagner here with part 4 of our inspection workflow series. In our first part, we took a look at how we could build our data and publish it into ArcGIS Online. Then we put it into a map and symbolized it. We made that really great map available out in the field. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make that map available in a dashboard as well. So as inspections take place out in the field, people back at the office are going to be able to see what exactly is going on. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Here we're able to see what our final product is actually going to be. So this map should hopefully look familiar. I've collected some data for it, so it's a little bit more filled out. But then this dashboard around the outside is what we're going to work to build with this to provide this really powerful overview of inspections that are still necessary, what has been inspected, etc. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Just so we remember where we're starting from, we're starting here from our map. This has those layers we saw before. It is the exact same map that is being used with ArcGIS field maps. And remember here, we're seeing it in the map viewer beta. Now, if I want to go ahead and actually build my dashboard, that's going to be done here within content. And here's my items. We got the layers, the symbology, and the web map. Let's go ahead and click into the web map here. And on the right-hand side, what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to take this map and pull it into the web app of our choosing, and I'll pick dashboards. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a name, hydrant inspection, dashboard, and press OK. And what it's going to start off with is a very simple framework. It's just going to be our map in a viewer form, but from this we can start to build out our full dashboard into our beautiful final product that we're going to make here. So how does this work? Well, I'm able to add those elements that we saw previously by clicking on the plus button here in the upper right hand corner. And there's a whole bunch of these different elements that we can pick and choose from. I'm not going to go through all of them in this video, but I'm going to highlight those that I think are most useful. We'll start off with a simple example, which is just a header along the top. And whenever we add an element within a dashboard, it's going to look similar to this. We get a preview on the right, and we configure it on the left. So I'm just going to give this maybe a slightly different title for us here, but you'll be able to see that as I type hydrant inspection monitoring, we'll be able to see that what I type in updates, and that's going to be our common pattern here. And as you can see, it's going to be a lot of different just switches and toggles to set all of this up. I'll press done, and with that, we've just added our first element to this dashboard. But let's go ahead and keep on rolling. There's plenty of things we can do, plenty of ways we can start to pull on the data that exists in this map and visualize it in non-cartographic, non-mapping ways. Let's go ahead. Let's add a gauge here. Well, what's a gauge? A gauge is going to allow us to kind of keep track of progress, the part out of the whole. So I'll click on gauge, and here's where I have this ability for this particular element to pull on the layers within my map. So I'm going to pull on that recent hydrant inspections layer for my hydrants that have at least one hydrant inspection done in the past. By default, not very helpful. What's it telling me? Well, it's telling me that I've inspected 1,400 fire hydrants out of 100. This is simply incorrect. Let's go ahead and start to dig into it. For many of these elements, we're going to have the ability to filter our data set. So I only want this to be the inspections that have occurred within the last year. So I can click on filter, and I can build out a condition to only show certain values from within this data set. So here's all my attributes from that recent hydrant inspections layer, and I can choose inspection date is within the last year or 365 days. Click refresh, and there we go. 813 hydrants out of 100. Still not quite there yet, but we're getting closer. And here's where we can control that. The maximum value is the 100 we're seeing here. I'll change this to be a statistic, and I'm going to have it pull on a different layer on my map, which is the total of all of my fire hydrants. So now we can see it's 813 hydrants have been inspected in the last year out of 1,400. Now I have these other tabs on the left, and we're going to see this for other elements as well. We're going to be able to go through and configure this and give it the look and feel we want. I don't know, for example, you want a half donut instead of the horseshoe or the circle. Pick and choose, but very easy to switch between them. We'll change the color to be blue since this is a water example, I guess. And then we'll go into general. And here I can give this a title so people actually know what we're looking at. So we'll type in inspection progress, give it a colon. And this is a little word processor. And I can go through and I can center it, bold it, change the font size. I don't know, I think 22 looks pretty good in our case here. And I'm going to turn off the last update text. Gives us a little more real estate here with our element. I'm going to press done. And with that, we've created our first little element here. And I can take this and I can resize it. By clicking on this blue button here, I get a number of options, such as to delete this, duplicate it, go back into my settings. Or if I wanted to, I could even drag it and move it around, put it on the bottom. But I'm going to keep it on the left side of my map for right now. And shrink it down a little bit. There we go. All right. So great that we are inspecting 813 fire hydrants so far, but how many haven't we inspected? Well, we're going to add another element for that. And we're going to use the indicator element. An indicator element is really just a big in-your-face number. Again, pulling on a layer that we have within our map. So we're going to pull on recent hydrant inspections here. So by default, it just counts for me the number of features within my data sets. Great, but not exactly what I want. I want this to be all those fire hydrants that have not been inspected within the last year. So I'm going to click on filter, and this is going to look pretty similar to what we put in before, but I'm going to make this be inspection date is before the last. That means this happened before the last 365 days or before the last year. 581 hydrants are in need of inspection then. So everything that took place before the last year, those hydrants that still need some work done on them. And again, I can work my way through the different tabs here. We'll say here for the indicator, nothing really to work with, but in the event I want to add a nice little diagram, I can do something like that. We have a bunch of little icons here you can choose from. We'll choose this fun little fire hydrant here. And this is actually really nice that in the event you start to put a bunch of indicators in your dashboard, a little icon is actually like a really good way to draw the eye to a particular number. So we'll go into general here, and I could give this a name such as hydrants needing inspection. And again, make it look good. If you're going to ever give a dashboard to someone, make sure they get a great example of what that final product is going to look like. I'll turn off the last update text. And because this is maybe something a little more urgent, I'm going to change the text color from that grayish black into red, help it pop a little bit more, and we'll press done. All new elements always get added onto the left-hand side, but as we saw before, I can drag this and put it below. All right, great. We've got 813 fire hydrants that have been inspected out of 1,400, and exactly 581 still have some work that need to be done with them. Now, maybe I also want to get a general sense of how inspections have progressed, monthly or daily over the last X amount of time. Well, we have an element that can help out with that, that allows us to make bar graphs and line graphs, and that's the serial chart element. Again, I'm going to pull on my recent hydrant inspections, and it's kind of boring at the moment. But we're going to build this out. It's going to look great, I promise. Let's filter it, like we've been doing so far, to only show those hydrants that have been inspected within the last year. Inspection date is within the last 365 days. Still nothing because we need to give this the x-axis. So I'm going to choose from my attributes that I have available to me. I'm going to pull on my inspection date. And there we go. Now we can see, over time by day, how many hydrants have been inspected. And it got the day, kind of breakout from down here. Now, if I want to, I can make this be by month. So there we go. There's how many hydrants have been inspected each month over the last 365 days. Excellent, excellent, excellent. But we can certainly work our way through the tabs here and continue to configure this. I can make this be a horizontal chart instead of a vertical chart. Little things like this you have the ability to go through. I won't, look into all of them, but again, you have this control over the look and feel of what your elements are going to look like. A guide can be a nice one. In this case, a guide might be, hey, we were trying to hit a goal of 60 hydrants each month. How well did we do it? There's a label for it, and I'm going to set its value here to be 60. And now you can see we get this little gray line that's hard to see, but I'll make it blue and put the goal there on the left-hand side. Also make that blue as well. So now we can see where we met our goal or where we didn't meet our goal. And if I even want to give this kind of like a fill, I could type in a to value of 0, so 0 to 60. As long as we get outside of this little gray filled area here, then we've met our goal. So a great little way that we can start to, again, add a little bit more to this bar graph than what we saw before. I could go into my series. If I wanted to, I could pop in some labels to see how many we've inspected each month exactly. I can change, the color of this. Maybe this is a little too much blue, but just an example, we can customize this and give it the look and feel we want. And if I wanted to, I could even make this be a line graph or a smooth line graph, something like that. Just a couple clicks allows us to change how this bar graph is going to work for us. As always, good practice to give this a name of what this is, such as inspections by month. Turn off the last update text, and I'm happy with what we're looking at. I'll press done, and it gets shoved here on the left-hand side again, but I want this to go along the entire bottom of my dashboard. And how do I do that? Oh, I didn't exactly spell inspections right there, but you get the point. What I can do is I can play a little bit of the movement game here, and I'm gonna move my bar graph down to the bottom, but it still doesn't quite go along the entire bottom here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull hydrants up to the left of the map, and then I'm gonna pull inspection projects to the left side of the map, and I can do some resizing. Look at that. Now I have my bar graph along the bottom, map here, and those elements we had before. Now, maybe for my hydrants that have been inspected within the last year, I want to know a little bit more about those hydrants that are actually requiring maintenance. And a great way that we can do that is with another element known as the list. I'll click on that, and again, I am going to pull on the recent hydrant inspections. Now, I want this to meet two criteria. The hydrants that have been inspected in the last year, because those are the ones that definitely need maintenance from within the last year, as well as the question maintenance required is equal to yes has been filled out. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to filter this by both of those criteria. So I'll say, again, like we've done so many times before, I'm going to say inspection date is before the last, I'm sorry, within the last 365 days. So these are the ones that have been inspected in the last year. And I'm going to say for maintenance required, the value is equal to yes. So there we go. And then what I'll do is I'll say, okay, let's maybe show the 100 of them, and let's actually sort them by the inspection date. So I'll actually see the ones that are most recent or the oldest as well. So inspection date, and I can choose to sort it ascending or descending. Okay, so now I've chosen what data is going to actually appear in this list, how many are going to appear, and how they've been sorted. But as you can see, the list isn't super helpful. It just says dry barrel over and over and over again. We can configure what appears here based on the attributes from this layer. So I'll click in the list, and again, here I got this little simple word processor that I can use, and I can pull on all kinds of attributes that I have, maybe like asset ID. I can type in some static text, and then pull on my attributes. So we'll say asset ID, and then grab the asset ID attribute. Maybe I actually want to pull in the inspection date itself. So, I can pull in the inspection date, say date, and then maybe I can pull in who actually did the inspection for this. So here's my inspector, and inspected by. Something like that. And again, you have the ability to take it, clean it up, colorize it, do whatever you want. I'm just going to make these little headers here be bold. And now we got something that looks like that. I'm going to turn off the icons just so there's a little less clutter here. At which point now, I'll go into general, I'll turn off the last update text, and I'll say what this is. Hydrants needing maintenance. There we go. Perfect. Make it look good. Nice, easy, done. On the left-hand side, we're going to move this over to the right-hand side, so that way our dashboard kind of has this, feeling of balance to it, but still keeping that map in the center. I'm happy with what I got here. Perfect. But we can still take this up another notch yet. Let's say I want to learn more about this hydrant that needs maintenance. Well, if I click on it, that's not very helpful. But I can set this up through what's known as an action that if I click on this, it's going to take me to that hydrant on the map. So I can actually see where fire hydrant 1356 is within my system. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to go back inside of the configuration for hydrants needing maintenance. And I'm going to go into the Actions tab. And all kinds of different elements have actions that you can work with them. I would definitely encourage you to try taking a look at them. But in this case here, when the feature selection changes, that is when I click on one of these guys, I want it to pan me to that hydrant on the map. And I want to make that hydrant flash on the map. And I'm going to press OK. Rather done. Then now if I click on 1356, it's going to take me to that hydrant on the map. Or 1054, it's going to take me over there as well. And these are those hydrants that need maintenance that have been inspected within the last year. All right, now let's say I was going through this and I wanted to know also, hey, how many hydrants are in need of inspection within my current map extent here. Now I could certainly go through and count them 1, 2, 3. It's 2021. We don't need to count things manually anymore. We have computers to do that for us. So we can actually have actions be performed based on the map extent as well. And so if I go into the map configuration options, I can go into map actions here. And so when the map extent changes, what do I want to have happen? I want to have the indicator update, that big number over here on the left-hand side. So now if I pan around, we can see, look at that. There's 16 hydrants on the screen. Perfect. Now the downside to this is now I don't know how many hydrants are in total need to be inspected. Well, we can add that number back in and have it appear along the bottom. So I'm going to reconfigure my hydrants needing inspection, and this reference allows me to add the value along the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and say statistic here from this data set, and by default, it's just counting all the hydrants for me. But I want it to be, as you might recall, that 581 number. That number that is the hydrants that have not been inspected within the last year. So again, I can set a filter much like what I've done before on my reference value down at the bottom for my inspection date. And it is before the last year, the last 365 days. We'll refresh that. And now my reference number at the bottom is 581. And this number up top is going to update based on my map extent. So now as I pan around the map, I can see that there's 20 hydrants that need inspection out of a total of 581 that need inspection across my entire system. So just like that, we've built a pretty powerful dashboard in like the last 18 minutes. This is pretty awesome. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, I can see that this needs to be saved because of my little floppy disk icon. He didn't quite make it to 2021, I suppose. And then what I can do is something that people like. I can change the theme from light to dark. If you want to make those colors, maybe pop out a little bit more. Figured I'd show you that. Some people like it. I'll press the save button again. Now that I'm done with this, if I wanted to, I could get rid of the question mark mode equals edit on my URL, and this will actually take me to what the dashboard would look like in the event I were to share it with somebody else. And if I did want to share it with somebody else, maybe a manager, I could just go ahead and give them this URL, and it's going to take them right to this website, and they're going to see your dashboard that you've built. Great. So what I want to do to maybe kind of highlight one last aspect here of what it means to work with all this GIS goodness here is how everything is all tied together. And what I mean by that is this map, as I said at the beginning, is the same map that we were working with in field maps. So the map I see here should look pretty similar to the map that I might have as a field worker. So I'll shrink this down a little bit here real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform an inspection on this fire hydrant right here. Aurora Ave and South Eagle Street. Same fire hydrant as what we have right here. And if I perform this inspection, as we saw last week, coming in here saying, okay, we've got this fire hydrant, we're going to inspect it. Its last inspection was November of 2019. I'll add our new inspection. There's our really great form we built last week. Give this an inspection date, a pressure. I'm going to say maintenance required is no. And when I press the submit button here, what are we going to see? Well, again, in field maps, I'm going to see this fire hydrant icon change from red to green because now the inspection's been done within the last year. I'm going to see this fire hydrant icon here change from red to green. I'm going to see February tick up from 60 to 61. I'm going to see the inspection progress count up to 813. Hydrants needing inspection is going to drop down to 18, and that's going to hop down to 581. So let's go ahead, press the submit button as the field worker, and management back at the office will be able to see these changes go through. So we'll give this a couple seconds, and we're going to end up with some really good results. All right, there we go. Hydrant changed for me out in the field, as well as everybody else who's going to be working with field maps. It changed here on the dashboard in the map. This ticked up, these counted down, and this counted up over here. Phenomenal example of how we can work with the ArcGIS system in the field, in the office, pulling on our geospatial data to effectively share information across an organization. So we only really worked within the dashboard in this video, but we did a lot with it. We learned about all different types of elements that we can configure, gauges, indicators, serial charts, lists, as well as what it means now to put this into a larger picture of working with field crews as well. What are we going to look at in the next video? We're going to take a look at how we can actually start to incorporate Survey 123 into this as well, Esri's smart form application. So it's going to be great. I hope to see you there. And as always, thanks for watching.